My name is Angela, and this is my first time on a public stage, so I'm a bit like frightened and excited at the same time. Yeah, and this is my bad attempt at trying to make a joke, but anyway. So as I said, my name is Angela. I work with Standard Chartered Bank. I'm senior legal counsel, currently based in New York. I started out my career 15 years ago, I would say. I started out as a lawyer that sold land in Nairobi. Any lawyer that has tried selling land in Nairobi knows that that's junk, like pretty much the junk of legal work. So I sold land and then found my way into Standard Chartered Bank, where I rose to the senior legal counsel role in Nairobi. And in that capacity, I supported the corporate finance business and then grew to a point where I supported 18 different markets and focused a lot on sovereign lending work. So we used to lend to governments. And then last year, I made my move into New York. And in New York, I'm largely focused on much the same kind of work, but with focus on commercial real estate, project and export finance, structured export finance, as well as commercial real estate, which is very big in the US. And sometimes I reflect on my career path, and I largely attribute it to consistency and adaptability. I've had to put in the work. There's no such thing to there being a substitute for hard work. I've had to invest in myself. I've had to upskill. I've had to pick myself up from failure. And relating that to entrepreneurship, sometimes as an entrepreneur, you need to have the same kinds of attributes, that is consistency, as well as adaptability to develop and also thrive as an entrepreneur. And these attributes help with the capacity to not just spot, but also respond to opportunities. And I think other attributes and probably skill sets that an entrepreneur will probably benefit from are diversity of experiences, having a network, as well as drive. In terms of diversity of experiences, I think it helps to get broad-based knowledge of the kind of industries that someone is looking out for, and also to identify opportunities. And having experience sometimes gives you the capacity to identify industry patterns, which sometimes help you narrow down on the kind of opportunities that you want to pursue. And it can also help you with the kind of skill sets that you pick up, figure out what you really want to do in the future as an entrepreneur. In terms of networking, I think it's critical to invest in relationships. And what I've learned from my own experiences is that support from the relationships that we build can come from the unlikeliest of quarters. And it's also a proven way to build your worth and also open yourself up to opportunities. And it's also one of the ways to access potential funding and financing opportunities. In terms of self-drive, I think there's the element of passion, persistence, and risk-taking, which is quite critical to developing entrepreneurial aptitude. I think there's a bit of picking yourself up from failure. It's important to have, the capacity to actually be able to collect yourself, from failure, learn from the experience, and also apply the lessons learned, going forward. So in summary, I think it's critical that a would-be entrepreneur has the consistency and adaptability, and also has the diversity of experiences, the capacity to network, learn and grow from those networks, as well as the self-drive, which comes with the passion and the persistence that comes with risk-taking for purposes of entrepreneurship. In summary, I think we also need to have in place, in addition to the attributes I've talked about, an enabling environment for entrepreneurship to thrive. I think there's a lot that has been done, and the previous speakers talked about it, in terms of creating the right legislative framework, including platforms for innovation and creativity to occur, and also protecting these from a legal perspective. I think a lot more needs to be done in terms of creating and supporting innovation in Kenya. Kenya currently ranks, I think, 86th out of 181 on the Global Innovation Index. We are second in Sub-Saharan Africa, but I don't think that is good enough. I think a lot more has to be done to encourage and promote innovation in this country. There are also, I think, elements of like the regulatory environment that could be improved. I personally think that a tax regime that is predictable and progressive is quite critical. Looking at what is currently happening in the country, I think there's a lot more that can be done there, because predictability and progressiveness in a tax regime is one of the things that would be investors and entrepreneurs would find comforting. I think the other thing we probably need to do is work on our ease of doing business index. I think that is quite critical for creating the right environment for entrepreneurship. Yeah, and I think thank you so much for being such a generous audience. Have a good time.